Hey, what is going on, everybody? I'm Noah from TechnoBuffalo.com, and wow, by all accounts, there has probably never been a 2-week period like the current 2-week period in the world of tech news. Um, the latest, and there was an earthquake in New York yesterday, so why not more unexpected surprises? Steve Jobs has stepped down from his role as CEO of Apple. The press release came out today. This is my iPhone. I'm going to be a fanboy for a second. This is my iPhone, original iPhone box from the iPhone 4 gigabyte model, iPhone 1 4 gigabyte. Got the dock in here. The phone is somewhere else, but the original dock is in here. Anyway, Jobs announced, Apple announced rather, they sent out a press release and the text of Jobs' letter of resignation to the board today, Wednesday, what is today, the 26th? 24th? I don't even know what day today is. That Steve was stepping down effective immediately. He's been named chairman of the board of directors, and longtime Apple Chief Operating Officer Tim Cook has been named CEO and will also sit on the board in his role as CEO. And in Jobs' letter of resignation, he basically said that if the day came that he couldn't perform his duties, what was expected of him in the role, he would have to step down, and that day has come. And whatever your views on Apple products and the way they do business and everything else, there's no denying the impact that Apple, with Jobs at its helm, has had on the world of technology and the world of business. Think about it. You go back to the days when Jobs was ousted, when he was CEO and he was ousted, and there were a bunch of different CEOs, and this is going way back, 10, 15 years, something like that. I'm remembering now, I used to be a teacher. Some of you might not know that. I used to teach computers, and I used to live in New York, and I was teaching at a school in Brooklyn when the first fruit-flavored iMacs came out. And they were huge. The kids were all, nobody had seen anything like it in a computer, and it was huge, and everybody got all excited. And that's when Jobs really started turning the company back around, and went from a point where the company was really on its last 90 days before possibly being shut down, and got to the point now where a couple times in the past couple weeks they've been the most valuable company in the world. Surpassing Exxon in terms of market cap value. It's an amazing story. I mean, again, whatever you think of it, whatever your opinion on Apple, the products, and Steve Jobs himself and everything else, it's literally an amazing story, for better, for worse, for whatever. So from that perspective alone, it's huge news. And personally, I kid around, call myself a fanboy because enough people out there call me fanboys and call Techno Buffalo. Sometimes people call us an Apple fanboy website. Of course, we sometimes get called, fanboys of other stuff too. It comes with territory. But I've been an Apple user since I was a kid. At my elementary school in upstate New York had an Apple IIe in the library, and then we got an Apple IIe eventually at home, and then I went off to college where I was in high school. And I was the sports editor of my high school newspaper. Little known fact, one of the co-editors-in-chief of my high school newspaper is now a senior vice president at NVIDIA. Go figure. Bonus points if you can name him. Anyway, but we used a network of Apple Macs back in the Mac SE, and then the Mac Classic came out after that. But we had this whole, what did they call it, Local Talk network with all of the Apple the little boxes that you would plug into the back of the computer, and then you'd plug a phone cord into them, and that's how they were networked. We had a little network of them that we did the school newspaper on using Aldus PageMaker before it got bought by Adobe. And then I went off to college and I bought a Mac, I think it was a Mac Classic with an image writer or style writer. Forget what it was, but there was a bundle that I got. And that was my computer at school until when I was a senior. I bought a refurbished PowerBook Duo. That was my first laptop. And that computer was awesome. Like 9-inch screen, little trackball, totally portable. It was fantastic. And I've been a Mac user ever since. I've used Windows machines. I taught for a year. I was the tech guy and computer teacher in an all-Windows school. I've worked at jobs where we use Windows machines. I have a Windows machine right there, an MSI laptop running Windows Vista. But I use Macs day to day, and I use them because I like the software mainly. They do look cool, I think, but for me it's the software. I like the way the operating system works, but more than that, I like the video and audio editing stuff on it. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from with all this. But there's no denying the impact of, especially in the last several years with iPhone and now iPad, really making its mark on the world of technology and the world at large as mobile technology becomes a more and more pervasive part of more and more people's lives across the globe. You know, when I started doing this, you may not know this, but I keep saying all these things. You think I'm making this up. I used to be a teacher. I used to be this. I used to be that. But it's all true. I started out in tech writing, writing for a little publication called Mac Directory. It was a glossy magazine. Came out 4 times a year. Covered Apple stuff. And then I got a job as a writer and then the reviews editor for a website called PowerBookCentral.com. And then I moved on to start my career covering mobile tech, which eventually led me here to Techno Buffalo. And so I've been covering this stuff for a long time. And, you know, it's the Apple world, the Cult of Mac, right? There's a site called Cult of Mac. Killian, who works for Techno Buffalo now, also works for Cult of Mac. It really is. It's a cult. And the cult has it's gone from the iPods with the white earbuds to the iPhone, now to the iPad. And it's just remarkable what they've done. So the impact, I have my own trip down memory lane there, but I don't know, I thought maybe you could appreciate it because I think there's stories like this. Technology's become so personal for people that stories like mine, I'm sure, you know, people have other stories. I can remember when I got my first calculator watch. I can remember when my dad bought a used Atari 2600 when I was home from school with the pneumonia. I was out sick for 2 weeks with pneumonia, and he picked up a used Atari to keep me entertained while I was laid up on the couch. I played a lot of Space Invaders. You know, I can remember these things. I can remember the Apple IIe. I can remember my first laptop. People have these stories now with technology. And when I started covering mobile phones, you know, full time, the Sony Ericsson Walkman phones and the K-series and the Nokia N-series, the N73 and the N95 and the N91, those were the high-end amazing phones. And rumors started kicking around about Apple doing a phone and the whole thing. And iPhone came out, man, and it changed everything. I was a skeptic at first. I was not a fan. Thought it was underpowered, overpriced, closed ecosystem, the whole thing. And I became a convert, like many people did. And you know, again, whether you're a fan or not, the impact on the industry just undeniable. So what happens now? Jobs stepping down. Apparently he's still going to be involved a lot in the big picture stuff as chairman of the board. But you have to imagine, and it doesn't take a lot of reading between the lines to read his you know, the letter of resignation. This is very much health related. He's been battling cancer. People know that. The logo's off. That's all right. We don't need a logo. You guys know who we are. You just have that reflection of the light bouncing on the screen back onto my head. But it's health related, and if you've known anybody who's battled cancer or you know, battled it and survived or battled it and succumbed, you know it's a nasty, nasty disease, and I would not wish cancer on even my worst enemies. You know, it's funny, the first thing this made me think of was a teaching job, the last teaching job I had before I became a full-time reporter, blogger person. Was at a school. We were a Mac school here in Oakland, and I worked there for 2 years. And my boss, who was the director of technology during my time there, contracted pancreatic cancer, and wound up losing the fight. He died within those 2 years. When I met him, perfectly healthy, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, fought it, and died within those 2 years. And it's just ironic. That's what it made me think of because of the Jobs cancer thing and the Apple connection and all that. So you know, I wouldn't wish cancer on anybody. And you know, Steve, may the rest of your days on the planet be good ones. May you be healthy, and you know, if you're not able to be healthy, may you enjoy whatever time you have left. And the same goes out to anybody who's battling cancer or anything else, really. But the point being that it's health related, and so you have to kind of imagine, without getting into speculation, that you know things are pretty serious. They've been serious for a while, but perhaps more serious. And so what happens now? Tim Cook's been around Apple for a long time. You've seen him in some of the keynote addresses and the product launches. COO. You know, you have to think a company like this. I mean, you know, a company like this has a product roadmap several years in advance. They have a bunch of products that will probably never make it to retail. They have products that will make it to retail. They have strategies. These strategies go beyond iPhone 5 and iPad 3, you know, longer range strategies. So things probably won't change all that much, and they have so much cash on hand. You know, the plans for the new Apple campus in Cupertino underway, so much cash on hand. But you have to wonder what's going to happen. The fickle stock market already, you know, in crisis the past several weeks, not just in the U.S. but globally. So how will the stock market react? Apple stock trading was halted after hours today, just before the news broke. So you have to wonder what's going to happen with that. And you have to wonder what's going to happen down the line. You know, the next slip-up Apple has, every company has slip-ups. The next slip-up they have will probably be over-scrutinized to the point of craziness. And so if the next product isn't a home run, if there's another antenna gate, you know, something like that, if Apple, if the next iPhone in the US does wind up on Sprint and or T-Mobile, and there are issues or it's not a raging success or something, you know, that's going to be under a microscope like nothing ever has before. And so what's that going to do? What's that going to do to Tim Cook? What's that going to do to the other people at Apple? What's that going to do to the shareholders and mind share? You know, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be crazy. But down the road, you know, is when the products that aren't developed yet, or the products that are still in that phase of concept and they might get approved, they might not, that kind of thing. You know, Jobs notorious for being the guy who at the end of the day says, yeah, we're doing this. No, we're not. This is good enough. This isn't. I want it to be like this. I want it to be like that. Who's going to be that person? Is Tim Cook going to be that person? Is Johnny Ives going to be that person? Is there somebody else inside of Apple? Is there somebody else who's going to come in from the outside and sort of step into that role and help out? You know, it remains to be seen. There's a handful of people in the world, leaders of industry, leaders of people, who can do that thing, be that visionary, and also be that kind of personality. You know, nice to be around or not. And by some reports, Jobs, not necessarily always nice to be around, but be that personality who can really drive the ship and see the vision executed. And those people are kind of rare, you know. So we'll have to see what happens. It'll certainly be interesting. It'll be interesting with everything else going on in the mobile industry and this shift towards, you know, tablets being hugely popular right now, but really only for Apple. I mean, not only, but predominantly for Apple, really, if you look at the numbers. And is this a trend that's going to, you know, eventually the other players in the space, the Android tablet makers and the other companies, will be shifting towards, you know, like HP, getting out of the PC hardware business, moving towards software only and enterprise, and the ones who can be competitive in tablets will be the new kings of hardware? Or is it just a fad that'll fade out? I don't know, we'll see, but it's an interesting time anyway, and now with this news. I'll tell you what, it's been a couple of weeks, man. Google buys Motorola, HP cans WebOS hardware. Don't forget the Fusion Garage, the Grid 10, Juju 2, and you know, and this news from Apple, just craziness. Anyway, if you're with me still, if you're still listening, thanks for listening. Thanks for you know, I wanted to hop on here, like I said, or I don't know if I said in the other video. John's over in London, so it's the middle of the night right now. But I'm sure he will weigh in on the subject in the days to come, as will everybody else in the herd. We want to, you know, we want to hear from you. What do you think is going to happen? Can Apple not survive? Because they'll survive for a while. They have so much cash on hand and so many great products already out, popular products. But can they thrive without Steve Jobs at the helm? Or, you know, what will happen? Very curious to hear your thoughts. Hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter, on Facebook, of course on the website. And again, you know, Steve Jobs, from me to you as an Apple user, as an Apple fan, because I am, thank you for all the amazing, cool stuff you've brought into my life as a geek, as a nerd, as a tech enthusiast and tech reporter. And, you know, may the next innovator, whoever you are, step up and do cool stuff, because that's how it works, you know. There's one after another, that's how it goes. All right, I'm rambling. I can hear it in my voice. I heard it a few minutes ago, but I had to keep going. I'm going to stop now. Steve, be healthy. There you go. Much, much more on this story and everything that comes with it, including, you know, eventually the next iPad, the next iPhone, the next whatever it is that Apple's got up its sleeve, and what all the other players in the space have up their sleeves. We'll cover it for you here on the video channel, on technobuffalo.com, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, all over the place. But until then, there you go. My name's Noah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.